Welcome to The Pull Bags, Back Issue Classics. Join us as we talk about comics from yesteryear, from DC, Marvel, and more. So open your ears to hear our discussion of the older continuities, as the back issue classics are also what's in the pull bag.
Hello and welcome to The Pull Bag. This is yet again another Back Issue Classics. This is the first Back Issue Classics of 2015. Happy New Year, everyone. I am TFG1 Mike. Joining me is Jeremy Fine. Hello.
Girl power. And boy, is it
Oh,
ever. Yeah.
here we go.
Oh.
All right, so, is this the second? Yeah. I believe this is the second Dark Horse Comics series that we will be covering here in the pull bag because I believe at the time the Star Wars stuff was with Dark Horse when Ryan Drost and I from Star Joe's covered Boba Fett is Dead, which is now transferred over to Marvel. So there is that. There will be more Star Wars coverage coming up with Ryan and I probably later on this year. Because now with the whole Marvel taking Star Wars, a lot of stuff has popped up on Comixology that wasn't there before. So,
All hail the mouse.
yeah, that's true. All hair the Spider Mouse. Oh boy. So, we're gonna be talking about something in this back issue classics that is I thought was interesting at first. Talking about something that actually I have never done before. I don't know if you have played it, but I have never played the 2011 Tomb Raider. I believe it was 2011, right?
Yeah, it's somewhere around the time Tomb Raider made a comeback.
Yeah.
Um, I played a demo of the most recent one from my Xbox One, but
Mm-hmm.
I played Tomb Raider when it first came out because it was going to be like the game for next gen consoles because at the time PlayStation 1, and Dreamcast were technically next gen consoles. So you had a list of these Tomb Raider games, and it was interesting because people didn't know what to make of it. Guys liked it because they just saw, this attractive woman with a British accent as an Indiana Jones's character.
Yeah.
And then you had a bunch of these really crappy sequels. And then sometime in 2000, because the sales weren't doing too well, they figured, okay, we'll kill off Laura Croft, but what we'll do is that you're going to play the adventures that she had before she dies, like the Lost Adventures,
Mm-hmm.
which wasn't too bad, but it wasn't the best gameplay. And then thankfully, several years later, we got a whole new makeover for Laura.
Right.
And of course, in between, Nightcrawler Lips decided that she was going to make a movie, which the less we talk about that, well, I'll talking
Well,
about that.
no. Oh, okay. Come on now. Yes, we've had a lot of actresses and a lot of different people, a lot of different models play Laura Croft, but come on. Angelina Jolie as Lara Croft was pretty spot on casting for those movies. Say what you want about the plot of those movies, but I mean, she was pretty spot on.
You know what? She is, but I've seen other cosplayers at the time, and the thing with her is that it's more of an ego. Like, nowadays, she only star in movies that she wants to.
Well, yeah, but this was back in 2000. Oh my god, that the Tomb Raider movie, the original movie, is 14 years old. Holy
Yeah.
crap. Yeah, this is back in 2001 when she was still doing, you know, any old movie that she wanted to do. Not just being so picky and choosy. And of course, now she and, Pitt have like 20 kids. Oh my god, can you imagine being an Angelina Jolie adoptee and having a TLC TV show? Brangelina,
I don't even want to think about it. I want to think about what the future is going to hold for this character because she is probably the most cosplayed character. And 50%.
in video games, probably.
Yeah, it's interesting because, as I said, when I first played the game, I didn't just get it because it was an attractive woman, as Indiana
Hmm.
Jones. I got it because it was a different type of action RPG, if you will.
Hmm.
The only problem is that you have those in between sequels where the the developers really weren't too sure what they were going to do with the character, and when they finally did flesh her out, which they're doing now with the the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 version,
Hmm.
um, thankfully she still has she's still Lara Croft. She still has her trademark British accent, but she doesn't have her trademark shorts anymore, which is fine. But she's more lifelike, and I feel that nowadays she's kind of making this come because she was forgotten for a while because of those sequels, but
Yeah.
I feel that there have been novelizations on her adventures. I haven't read them, I've heard of them.
Yeah.
And I believe there was some sort of comic book in EGM, like Electronic Gaming Monthly was trying to make like a 3-4 page comic.
Hmm.
Um, but what I like about this one, and what we'll talk about tonight, because it's Dark Horse, is that we have Gail freaking Simone as the writer.
Yeah, and just to correct myself before the listeners correct me, it wasn't 2011, it was 2013 that the Tomb Raider video game, the newest incarnation of the video game had come out by Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics. Um, I thought this was going to be really good because it was Gail Simone writing. And maybe it's because even though I've seen the gameplay and even though I've seen all the cutscenes from other people online playing it, like our buddy Booth Ninja 81 from Off the Cuff and all that stuff, I still like after the first issue. We're going to talk about the first four issues here, but I gotta say honestly, I don't think I'm going to be reading this anymore after these first four issues. It just I don't know what it is. It like I want to support Gail Simone and I want to see what other things she can write besides Batgirl. Obviously, she's not on Batgirl anymore at this point in time, but it's one of those things where I thought that somehow the I don't know. I just thought that the writing for Laura and the situation after the events, because this comic series from Dark Horse takes place exactly after the events of the video game of the end of the video game. Um, but I, for me, I love the art. The story, not so much. It's a little strange for me. Maybe I guess if I was a gamer and I actually played the video, like a current gen gamer and actually played the video game, I probably would feel differently. But I just, I don't know.
The problem is, and I think it's because if you have the hardcore fans that have been following this character for years,
Hmm.
it goes back to and as the artwork goes, it's not bad artwork, but I often remember even back with the Atari 2600 days, sometimes they would take comic books, like these little mini, books that were like maybe 5-10 pages, and put them into the cartridge. Even with He-Man in the 80s, you would get like these 5-page comic, based on the action figure that you bought. I don't know if this is supposed to help sell the game a little more, continue the adventure. It's not the worst. I mean, it's the problem is that it's mainly just we're just looking at panels and seeing where Laura is going. There's not much dialogue, but
I mean, Gale tries to set up this mysterious story after she's back from Yamatai, which is the island they were on in the game. And the first issue was great. I really do love the first issue of the series. Issues 2 through 4, I, I just don't know. I really don't know, folks, because they just seem. Maybe it's me. I don't know. They don't even seem predictable. I mean, I can handle a predictable story because I can make, allusions to other things. And it just seems too weird for me. It really, really does because they have all these people trying to hunt Laura and her friends who survived from Yamatai, but they don't actually say exactly what or why they're being hunted. They Simone tries to wrap this up in some mystery of maps and keys and boxes and books and whatever else, and it I don't know. It just didn't work for me.
I think it also they're going back to Indiana Jones territory because they're trying to find some sort of artifact that may destroy the world, save the world. What is Laura protecting? What is she trying to figure out the mystery of the artifact? And it
Mhm.
does. I mean, it goes into even Alan Quartermain territory, if you remember that series.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem. I mean, treasure hunting series are nothing new. The problem is that like, what is this thing that we're looking for and finding, and how is it different from any other treasure hunting movie we've seen in the past? And when you bring in characters that are such a mystery and everybody's trying to kill that character, that's okay. But besides a journey, there should be a destination. There should be a point A and B. And one of the problems, I'm not going to shave off too many points, but one of the problems I have is there's only so many times. I mean, let's go to something like Last Crusade. Let's go where Indy has to go from America to Venice to find his father because he's trying to
Mhm.
find notes for the Holy Grail. Okay, so we got that point. We also know there are people that are after him. They're trying to kill him because they're trying to make sure that he doesn't steal the Grail because they want to
Right.
protect it. We get that. Here, it's like people are coming out of nowhere and they're working for a mysterious organization, and it's like everybody's after her and everybody's incognito. You're hoping for a payoff, and there's nothing.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, we're 4 issues into this series, and I know I wanted to. I said this in my year 3 blog post that I put up for the pull bag on what's going to be happening here in year 3 and everything else. I wanted to get to this series in 2014 to be able to look at it then in the context of while it was being released, and it still is being released. I think they're up to issue 11, 12, 13. I don't know. I haven't kept up with it. But right now I'm watching through Yu-Gi-Oh from 1999. I'm on season 2, episode 14, out of, oh my god, 48 episodes. So by episode 14 of this animated series, or this anime series, if you really want to call it what it's called, um, I think by episode 8 or 9, we figure out, or we find out what the name, and kind of for us, the audience, what the villain looks like. And this, it's like, okay, just getting into the first issue, we have really, really great art. Opening it up, um, and this is what I do really enjoy about Dark Horse is you open it up, and on the front cover page flap on the back of it here, it says Tomb Raider Season of the Witch, and it gives all of the credits and whatever else on a white background page in black text. I love that because usually when I read comics, and most of them, it's mixed into the story or whatever else, and sometimes it's hard to make out, at least for me personally, sometimes it's hard to make out who's doing what on what book. So we open it up, and Laura's got her hands on her knees, and she's just, they're coming, and she's got somebody shooting at her, and all this and all that and other stuff, and she's running, and we find out that this is actually a dream sequence from when she was on Yamatai, the island. Um, and she wakes up, and oh, it was a bad dream, and like I like this. I like this opening. Like I said, I love this first issue. It's just where I run into a problem with the series is where the first issue goes from here, and the story that 2, 3, and 4 tell.
Well, dream sequences to me have always been a cop out. I mean, there's only so many times you can say it was just a dream. I understand that she's running from the plane, running from the bad guys, and she's on the plane,
Mhm.
and I love the panels where there's just no dialogue. You just see her running from the bullets, leaping through the jungle on the plane, and of course, I love one of the panels where the plane is hanging over a cliff, and she's trying to hold on to dear life with the plane, and then all of a sudden she finds an axe, and she tries to, use the axe to hold on to one of the wings before she's about ready to fall off, and thankfully
Mhm.
she's saved. But the problem is that how many times could we go, oh, it's just a dream, and then it's somebody that was already dead and she's trying to kill him, and I don't know, they're gonna go into zombie territory or not.
Well, see, here's the thing. Like, this is the one thing that I'll give this first issue in this series. You had to be able to bring in people that never played the game before. People like me, even though I've seen the game, I've seen, like I mentioned before, Booth Ninja 81. I've seen him play through the game and whatever else. Even though I've seen the game, you got to think that people going into comic shops may or may not be hardcore gamers or Tomb Raider fans or anything like that. So they had to set it up to where you kind of figured out or knew what was going on. Like, oh my god, okay, so she's on this island, she's running from these bullets, she's jumping off the edge of this plane, and somebody's gonna. So I can kind of forgive this for the first issue because it's not. It's a really cool introduction, and for someone like us who has seen the end of the game, we realize, oh, hey, it's a dream sequence. It's not that bad because it's introducing the rest of the world to whatever Simone is going to be creating. So I can somewhat give it a pass on that. But it just, I don't know. Like I said, the reason why I like this first issue is because it sets up Lara and Sam, and it sets up their relationship. It also sets up Jonah, who was another character from the game, and their friend. Um, so that was cool. And apparently Jonah hasn't been doing well since the island, and he pulls a gun on her and doesn't. He's talking in gibberish, and the guide that she had to go with her hears gold, and then he gets stingy later, and whatever else. And I will say one thing though, I love the art. Um, absolutely love the art. Nicholas Daniel Selma does an amazing job here with the art, the drawing, and the colorists and all that stuff. The art team on this book, it looks great.
The only thing with the Jonah back and forth, because yeah, Jonah he pulls a gun on Laura. He's not too sure what's going on. Again, it felt like Temple of Doom. I was ready for her to take a torch and go, Indy, I love you. But the problem is, Jonah, I'm glad is still around, because my biggest
Mm-hmm.
fear is that because Jonah was so screwed up in the head he couldn't tell what was going on anymore, and he kept pulling a gun on Laura. I mean, there was a point, however, where they're fighting and they're in the ocean, and it looks like he's just about to drown because
Yeah.
they're fighting on a boat, and it's sinking. And my biggest fear was, okay, this is a guy who doesn't know what's going on. He's going to die, and Laura's still going to ask a million questions. And thank God that didn't happen, because he somehow makes it. But the problem is that for those who have played the game or haven't, it still kind
Mhm.
of asks a lot of questions. What's going on with him? Is he under a trance? Has he been brainwashed? Has somebody put a microchip in his head? I mean, these are things that, playing the game is one thing, but I also thought this could be a hypothetical what if story. I understand that this is not a Telltale game, of course, but I'm just
Mhm.
saying that it would have been a little bit better. I mean, if you want to set up for the next story, that's one thing. I understand that. And it seems like everybody wants to franchise everything nowadays, which is fine. So they want to make sure they're going to set up everything for the next story, but you have to keep it in the now. And the problem is when you have something like Jonah claiming he doesn't know what's going on, he disappears for a while, or we think he's, going to, go down with the ship because Laura can't save him because he's, brainwashed, and he's even telling her, "Leave me to die." That doesn't help me, because if you know who the character is, it's going to bother you because he was a likable character. If you don't know who the character is, you don't know what's going on, it was a waste of a panel or panels, and it was a waste of comic book, and it was a waste of time.
Right, right. Now, I haven't done this in a long time, but because I try not to do it anymore, and most of the comics that I read are digital, so I don't have to worry about ads. But if you look at the page opposite where he says, He will have his house and wall floor. In the scene where the boat's crashing around, and she's about to lose him. Before we turn the page, there's an ad for Dark Horse's Serenity Firefly Class '03 K84 K64 series. And is it just me, or did they intentionally in this advertisement make this look like a Harlequin romance novel?
I
As far as how Nathan Fillion looks and whoever the hell the woman is with him.
I'm sure that they tried to do anything. Sex sells nowadays,
Yeah.
especially with
Well,
Firefly. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. So we get to more of the boat scene here, and as you already said, he's like, "Oh no, go without me," and we see some really stunning action shots of Laura taking her little pitch axe or pitchfork or pickaxe, whatever it is, and runs, jumps, and catches on the cliff there on the rock, and attempts to save herself. And we have this really, really mysterious, strange storm, and it kind of ends with the wait, is that the boat or the jeep? Wait a minute, that explosion.
I think
Um,
that the Jeep.
okay, because
Yeah, I think the Jeep went into the
oh,
water.
the
Yeah.
jeep. Yeah, that's right. The jeep went in the water. Okay, so as this first issue ends, the Jeep explodes, and she's basically like, oh, Jonah, too late. The sun's too late. Damn it all to hell. Next, the four Guardians. For a first issue, I love this. I think it's really good. I think the writing in it is really good. I think Simone brings us into the story of Lara Croft. But as it goes forward, when we get to issue 2, 3, and 4 here, um, outside of the artwork, the best thing for me are the covers. Honestly, the covers look great.
Well, the covers I think are trying to promote the game more because these, of
Yeah.
course, if you get the game, you get to see a cover like this, and even the graphics because lore is a little bit more real. Because lore with the old school Tomb Raider games was more pixelated. Here, in
Yeah.
the new game, she's more lifelike. That's the whole big thing. It's like
Mm-hmm.
even when she walks, you're gonna see her hair, strands of her hair move around in the breeze. That's really what they're trying to push more as the game. But this
Mm-hmm.
story again, you're right. The covers you want to hang on a wall, of course.
Mm-hmm.
The story again, no, everything goes back to it's either a bad flashback or like I had some bad clamps the night before and I'm having these nightmares. And everything seems to just be like some sort of night terror.
Mm-hmm. Now, the first issue had some really bright art, had some really cool art, and I thought we were going to continue with that in the second issue here, but the second issue starts off with 2 pages of really, really dark art. I mean, it's basically black pages, black edged pages surround the ship, the Endurance, and we see Jonah and Laura. Basically, their first meeting when they're on the boat. When they're on the boat to go to the island. And then we flash to Laura being, in the present of being stuck on the rock, and it goes back to light, which I like. I love the shot of her when she goes diving down for Jonah. That's an amazing shot of her underwater. Um, they really did an excellent job with that.
They do good shots when she's not talking. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But Laura, as I recall with the earlier, versions of the game, she didn't talk. But that's also because they didn't really do too much with the cutscenes anyway back then. It was just her just traveling around and
Right, but you got to look at it in the context of this comic series and the game that this is based on. You can't really compare this to the other games in the franchise.
yeah, and I think that's what's bugging some of the fans. Me, not so much. I mean, in fairness, no, I'm not going to be that stingy and say, okay, because what happened in the past, they should do in the future. I'm just saying that who is she supposed to be, and what is she really about? And I get that she's strong, and I get that she's independent. I'm glad that she cares about Jonah, and Jonah's not a throwaway character. But I do. like the lighting and textures in this one. I mean, I like the shadowing in the beginning of issue two. Even the underwater sequences, the artwork is amazing because you see
It
the
is.
murkiness of the water.
Absolutely. Now, I'm kind of wondering if the lettering people did a goof up here because we get to the next page opposite the Free Comic Book Day 2014 ad. Um, she goes, "A new current. What's happening now? The water. It's hit a canyon." Now, it says the water, period. It's hit a canyon. It, I don't know. It just, I, it makes sense to me, but it in my head it doesn't sound right. The sentence structure on that does not sound right at all. But I guess it's all right, and that's just a nitpick on my part, folks. It's just as I was looking at it here. Um, so as this issue progresses, she's trying to get Jonah to wake up. They look like they're about to go over the falls when the guide Ray shows back up
Oh yeah,
with a gun because he heard the word gold and he wants gold.
yeah. So it's going to be like one of these turncoats again. Because yeah, it's there's no originality with this crap, and that's one of the things that irks me. Because all of a sudden now he hears gold. I mean, again, I can go back to any other, you know, treasure hunting movie that I've seen.
Mm,
Characters a throwaway. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm in between. Again, I don't want to be that nitpicky and say, well, what I've grown up and watched over the years, but this was also this was just more throwaway. I feel just to fill in a few panels because there's a certain amount of pages you have to put in the comic book, and I guess you can't
mm.
put that many ads. But it's kind of pointless, or just to see what a badass Laura could be when she fights back. It's one half dozen of the other.
Yeah. The page opposite the ghost ad, when they're finally on shore, after they get rid of Ray, where she says, "Jonah, Jonah, little bird." It's you're right. It's like she's Indiana or Indiana Joni, I should say. Of course, not a lot of people are gonna get that reference, Indiana Joni. Watch Disney Channel, people. You'll get it. Um, you got Indiana Joni here in Short Round. I swear to God, that's who Jonah reminds me of. Is friggin' Short Round, an adult version of Short Round. At least in that image where she's kneeling beside him.
Oh yeah, it is short round. Yeah,
Uh, all right. So as this um, as this issue progresses, she goes to Trinity College in Dublin to a professor friend of hers. She has a couple of artifacts for him to look at. They discuss them, and apparently, all of the members that survived from Yamatai actually got each one of them got one of these artifacts, and Laura's trying to figure out what it all means, and the story is just going so damn slow.
it's
It,
talking. It's just talking about the again. I'm. It's not that we have short attention spans, and I don't want you to think that. But this is a comic book. You know, this is kind of like Da Vinci Code, where they had to make it visual. And
yeah.
I mean, seriously, I mean, Da Vinci Code was something where I was reading and reading, and I wasn't bored because they were just talking so much about puzzles and the research and the artifacts and the history that it was like I had to go and rent documentaries to find out what was discussed in the book. And then they had to come out with the visual guide because this way it was a huge book you'd read and you would see the pictures with the puzzles. Here it's the same thing, and I get the fact, okay, she's found the statue, she's researching the statue, she's texting people, she's talking to other colleagues. Oh, get out of here, you're in big danger. Your life isn't going to be worth spit if you find out what this thing really means. And it's like they just go on and on and on. I'm like, just get to the point already. Again, it's more filler.
Yeah, absolutely. You said your life isn't going to be worth spit. Every comic book episode needs to have a Jack Palance, Carl Grissom reference in it. So we have contact through these first two issues between Sam, who is her roommate, friend, best friend, whatever, Jonah, and now this lady Reyes, who apparently was another member on Yamatai with them, another team member. So we then get into all of this, and we find out that all of them have these artifacts and whatever else, and it just becomes a huge treasure hunt. Don't get me wrong, I like. Okay, everybody should know if you haven't, folks. If you've been listening to the Pull Bag for the last 3 years, and I haven't said this on there, last year in 2014, I finished up our Mask Review podcast. That's all those episodes are, one after another, of really boring treasure hunts. This is not as bad as that, but like I wish they would get to the fucking point already. Like, oh my
Because
god, we're
they have to fill in, because as I said, there's only so many pages you could put as we said, of the research and the talking and the organizations. And treasure hunts are supposed to be, if my memory serves me correctly, and I keep going back to Indiana Jones because Indiana Jones got it, or at least the
mm-hmm.
first three anyway, is that if Indy's going to go after an artifact, there going to have to be stakes. Why is he going after this artifact? Why are the Nazis going after this artifact? If he goes from, as I said, from the good old USA all the way out to Jerusalem, why is he going underneath the catacombs of, wherever, and pulling out the staff to show where, point A goes to point B? And they explained it point by point to point, and why the Nazis are going after him. Everything was explained. And you cared about the character, and you got the dialogue, and even if you had a battle every now and then between good versus evil, the battles made sense. You knew what the stakes were. Here, I don't know what the stakes are. I still don't know. We're in issue 2. I still don't know what these stakes are supposed to be. Is it end of the world? Is it supposed to be about true enlightenment? It doesn't give us anything other. Is it a priceless artifact worth millions? What is this that is so important and we don't get it?
Mm-hmm. We don't get it at all. And as this issue ends, we see that these two guys that have come up to Laura and Reyes, apparently they've kidnapped Reyes' daughter, and now we see that someone is coming in to basically steal away or hurt Laura's professor friend, and the um, the second issue ends with I will reclaim what is hers. I know you will, daughter. Blood calls to blood. Blood calls to blood. Next, a payment of flesh. The second issue. Okay, you got 4 issues here. All right, so you got 4 months worth of a comic at this point. Okay, the Tomb Raider movies, which are probably what 2 hours each.
Feels longer than that, but yeah, we'll go with that one. Wait,
Well,
wait until Schlocktober when I review them. I'll get into it more.
oh, good lord. All right, so let me just see here, because I want to be accurate and all that good stuff here. Um, which I'll say it again: Angelina Jolie, best one. Okay, 100 minutes, roughly about 2 hours, an hour and something minutes, but in 100 minutes, Tomb Raider from 2001 did a better job of storytelling than the first 2 issues of this comic.
I don't even. Oh, we haven't even gotten to issue 3 yet.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, don't get me wrong, the first issue, excellent. Perfect, jumping on point Simone introduced us to the characters, got us all going, whatever else. By the second issue, she basically raises all these damn questions, gives us no answers whatsoever, and by the time we get to issue 3, it's a fucking flashback. It flashes back to whatever his name is, Rio, or oh god, no, that's Jim and the Holograms. Roth, that's what it is, Roth. So it flashes back to her, the team leader or whatever. It flashes back to Roth and Reyes before they were on the boat or something or other. Is that right?
Yeah, something. This one, it didn't bore me. It just lost me because
Yeah.
it just acid flashbacks have made more sense in this flashback. I'm not too sure where it's going, other than the fact it's supposed to be. Because when we last left issue 2, of course, we have like the mummy woman,
Yeah.
the scientist. Here we're talking again, about nightmares haunted by the past. Because we've never had a title like that before ever, and we've never had a character haunted by the past ever. We get in. Hold on a second here. The thing just. Okay, here we go. Haunted by the past.
Mm,
Yeah, we get the character. Does he even have a name?
Roth.
Yeah, Roth. That's what it is. Okay, yeah. Now it's coming back to me. Yeah, we get Roth, but it's just Laura once again in a bar trying to ask questions, and people just getting their heads blown off one by one, and her
Mm-hmm.
just fighting. I don't even know where to begin with this one. This one to me just gave me a gigantic headache. I tried to read it 3 times. I read it twice. That was one time too many. All I know is that Laura's just trying to ask questions, and fights break out. People's heads get blown off,
Mm-hmm.
and back on the boat again. There's a storm. The weather started getting rough.
Oh my god, the storm is the best part about this entire issue. The 2 panels on the one page before the Munchkin Zombies spare parts 4 ad,
Oh yeah.
where she says, and then the world split open. Those air currents turned out to be something after all. The lightning and the blue and the black and all of that. Just amazing, amazing art. And we now go back to a New Year's Eve party. Oh no, they're running from the people that were chasing them. That's right. So this issue turns into a chase. Okay. It also mixes in more of the flashback. This is no. Just no. I'm sorry, Gail Simone. I love your writing in general, but this is just not. I don't know. It just isn't what I was expecting out of it. And I had no expectations going into this series. I really didn't know what to expect because, as I said before, I'd never played the game. I was hoping for, what I got in the first issue, which was an introduction to the end of the event, the ending events of the game, and then we would tell a story from there. And the story she's telling, it's like, no, this is a poor man's Arrow, is what this has become. It really has, because by the end of issue 3, she says, "Reyes, they have Sam. She's only my only real friend. She's all I have. Listen, we have to go back to the island. We have to go back to Yamatai." It's like Arrow season 4 or season 2 already. It's like, holy crap, what the hell?
You know, I was really hoping that we'd have some sort of treasure hunt in the cave.
Yeah.
There's only so many times 6 months ago. There was a show on NBC a couple years ago. I think it was called The Event. And it
Right.
was
Yeah.
like they kept going back to what the event was. And it was like 6 months ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 minutes ago, 30 seconds ago. No joke. I mean, that's what they were doing. They kept going back to everything that happened either days, weeks, months, and then it came down to minutes and seconds. And it just got so annoying. Then you found out the event was just interdimensional people that want to exist in our world. And that was it. and it took so fucking long to get there.
Yeah.
This is like, why do we have to keep going backwards? I mean, it's only issue 3, and it's like we're already. Here's the thing, though. For some reason, more and more writers feel that we need the prequel. And I don't know why the prequel has become so important. Because with the prequel, you're bringing in characters that were never discussed in the beginning. And
Right.
you're bringing in characters that, then why are they in the prequel? Why were, oh, we forgot to put them in. One thing I was taught when I was taking directing one at the College of Staten Island years ago, I'll never forget what my professor told me. You're going to direct a movie, you're going to direct a play, you're going to write. You got to know 3 things: what your character is like before the story, during the story, and after the story. Laura has a past, but as I said, what was great about Chronicles is that we saw her adventures, but we saw them where she was treasure hunting. We didn't see her. I mean, it's not like you couldn't do research if you really wanted to, but to do
Right.
every nook and cranny to find and look, I play Carmen Sandiego. I have no problem with that. I have no problem being edutained. It's not a big deal. But you have to stop going back to characters that she knew that either betrayed her or have gotten killed, and she has all this guilt about whatever she's found, whatever contacts she's made that are no longer part of the plot because of something that she can't shake off 20 issues ago or, 3 years ago, whatever the case may be. And that's why issue 3, if I tried to explain issue 3 to you, I would come off as somebody that looks like I'm having the first stage of a stroke. And that's not a good thing because, I mean, this is Gail Simone. Is there life after Batgirl? Absolutely. Can she write? Absolutely. Does she know how to tell a story? Absolutely. You know, a name should mean something, and I don't think she's just writing this to pay off her car or, whatever the case may be. But I just want to see Laura treasure hunt. Now, if you don't want to see Laura in the trademark shorts, that's fine. But you have to, if you're going to give her trademark gun, and you know, a trademark fighting skills, great. But it's like I don't care about characters that have nothing to do with anything that, just because we played a video game and they were mentioned in passing. Like, if she talks about what about Trevor, I don't want to know a 15-page issue about Trevor.
Yeah. It's just crazy. It really, really is. Um, so issue 4, Hunted by the Shadows is the title on the front cover, but the actual title is Under Penalty of Death. I'll say this for these first 4 issues. Nicholas Daniel Selma, Juan Gideon, and Michael Atay, I assume that's how you say his last name, on the art, pencils, inks, and colors. Amazing. The art in this series is just gorgeous and wonderful and great. I'm sorry, Gail. The storytelling is just. It's consistently losing me. It really is. It's losing my interest. So we open issue 4 with Jonah in the hospital, um, doing something. I don't know. Trying to escape or something or other. And apparently he has no pants on. Nice. That's one less thing we need. Um, so we get to where Sam has been kidnapped by the kidnappers, and um, she basically is taunting them. She's not going to talk to them. We go back to Laura and Reyes, and they are trying to figure this all out. They're trying to find. I believe they're no. The daughter's with them. Okay, I thought they were trying to find the daughter. So Reyes and her daughter are with Laura, and it just this series is just going on at a snail's pace. We then go back to another flashback. Oh, I assume it's a flashback because.
It's a flashback within a dream sequence of
Oh my god.
imagination. I'm almost waiting to see that top stop spinning and whether or not it's going to fall down or not. That's what I'm tired of these and not only is it a flashback or it's a flashback within a dream sequence. I mean, you have these mysterious creatures saying like go back, and of course, she's going to go forward because she wants to know what's telling her. Wouldn't it be great if something, even if it was Monty Python-esque, if this
Mm,
giant lightning creature told somebody to go back, and you're like, okay, fine, and then the thing just starts to follow you and say, but aren't you interested? No, you know, it would just have some sort of humor. But the fact that everything keeps telling her to go back, or she's having nightmares, there's nothing. To me, this is something out of Scooby Doo, or this is something out of any serial or any Saturday morning cartoon that's just like, well, she has to know what's the cause of her nightmares. What's the worst case scenario happen if she didn't? What? There'd be a different story. She could just go and treasure hunt, and maybe everything would intersect. I don't know, but I'm just so tired of these flashbacks and these dream sequences. She could be in purgatory for all I know.
Gail Simone writes Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, as she was on the island of Lost. Oh, good lord.
Well, she's on an island. We know that.
Yeah. All as we need now is for Tom Hanks and Wilson to show up.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. Um, Folks, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I,
Allow me as the guest to just give
yes.
my final thoughts on this one.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, and not to be repetitive, so I'm going to give a whole new rant. I'm going to do this in threes. Number one, what I said before, you have to have a beginning, middle, and end on your character of what your character is supposed to be. To keep putting in flashbacks and warnings and to build and I go back to what we said with Amazing Spider-Man 2. The reason why we said it was a 2.5 hour preview because you're so concerned about building everything up for the next story. This is why people have attention deficit disorder because you're building everything up for the next story. We don't know what's happening in the now.
Yeah.
Second of all, I don't care about these I to quote Samuel L. Jackson with Snakes on a Plane, I've had it with these motherfucking prequels and these motherfucking franchises. Prequels to me are getting on my last nerve. I don't
But this isn't a prequel though. This is
it's not a prequel, but it kind of it almost for some people that are not familiar with the game, I'm just saying hypothetically,
Mhm.
yes, it's not a prequel, but for some reason it's acting like that or a mid-equal or something. Again, that's not what this is supposed to be, but it's trying to come off like that. It
Yeah.
should be its own entity. And the problem
Mhm.
is, it's either going to piss off people who are fans of the game, or, as I said, it's going to confuse people that have not played it or have not played this any Tomb Raider game in a very long time. That's going to be problem number two. And the third problem is that people who are not too familiar with Gail Simone are not going to go back to her other works, and that's a shame. I think Gail Simone, you listen, there are a lot of writers that are going to hit snags. I don't know if the series gets better. It probably will. There are pros and cons, and the pros are it's some interesting artwork, there's some interesting panels, but the cons are the dialogue and what Laura is trying to go after and why. So, on a professional opinion, I'm split. I'll go 2.5, but on a personal, I'm going 1.5 on this one because Laura for girls, it was supposed to be a female Indiana Jones. For guys, it was just uh,
A sex symbol.
yeah, well, a sex symbol, olive skin, British accent, but once you start to read the novelizations, and they're out there, I forget what they're
Yeah.
named. I mean, this should be visual. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be, and I'm not saying that if you play the game, can she? I mean, why didn't she have her own Saturday morning cartoon, or why hasn't she had, some sort of anim or direct to DVD movie besides the? And I'm sure even after, Jolie, there were talks about rebooting the franchise again. Where's Laura gonna go? I don't know. But the one thing I do know is that I cannot go back to this series, Gail Simone or not. It's unreadable.
I'm right there with you. The only thing is, I'm going to give the first issue a 4 because I thought it set everything up really well. The other 3 issues, I'm going to give a 2.5 because they just weren't good. And I cannot believe I have read something from Gail Simone that I did not like. Everything else that she's done to this point, like specifically the Batgirl series, is where I really have read her stuff. I know she's writing, or she was writing, Red Sonja. I don't know if that's any good. I have not checked that out yet. I'd like to eventually, but yeah, no, I cannot recommend this to anybody. I just can't. It's just not. It's not that great at all.
No, this would be something in the 80s if you picked up a Laura Croft action figure. And like I said, if you picked up a He-Man action figure in the 80s, and once you opened it up and behind the action figure was this
Mm,
tiny, like 5 to 10 page panel comic book that was based on the figure that you bought. That's pretty much what the series feels like to me. That if you picked up a Laura Croft action figure at Toys R Us, you would get this mini comic book. Or even an Atari 2600 game, they used to have these mini comic books. That's pretty much all this is, and that's a shame because I'm sure Red Sonja you might like because she's kind of like a female Conan the Barbarian, which
yeah.
is not a bad thing. I've heard rumors that maybe she'll do Witchblade, which is also not a bad thing. I think this is like just take the horse behind the barn, just shoot it.
Yeah. See, and for me, I was really hoping to, because for me nowadays in comics, I have to really get engrossed. And people have heard me say this all last year in the pull bag. I love Comixology.com because of their guided view technology, going panel by panel. I can see a lot of these panels in these 4 issues being so great on that platform. Yet, guess what? Dark Horse Comics isn't even on Comixology. Like, and their advertisements in their books, they're like, buy from darkhorse.com or your local comic shop or bookstore and call this number for the comic shop locator. That's all well and good. I do want everyone to support their local comic shops. Don't get me wrong. But Jesus Christ, at 350 a cover, at 350 an issue, and don't get me wrong, 350 an issue is not bad compared to DC and Marvel who do 399 and 499. So don't get me wrong, but for what this book is, for what these 4 issues are, 4, 8, 12, this is $16 right here, not counting whatever discount I got on these from my comic shop, but this is $16 worth of comics in my hand. That only one out of the 4 was I absolutely really enjoyed. That's kind of sad, and that's a waste of money.
There's not one issue that, other than the covers, in all
Mm-hmm.
honesty, I had to go onto the Dark Horse application for this one. And I had to download them. The only difference between the Comixology and the Dark Horse, I don't know what it is. It's more interesting to download the issues. But the
Uh-huh.
problem is that, yeah, again, they were $3.99 a piece, and it's not worth the money. I almost wish there's an app called Overdrive we can rent library books. I wish you could do
Mm-hmm.
the same thing with these comics because this was not money well spent. This is one time I have buyer's remorse, which is not
Yeah.
what I want to say on this show, but I have to tell people again, if you're really true Tomb Raider fan, just stay away from this one.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I cannot recommend it at all. And I'm just on Comixology now, even looking to see if they're listed in the Comixology database, and I don't even think that they are.
No, they wouldn't. I think I know why now. I really do.
Why is that?
I think it's because Dark Horse is its own entity, and I think
Hmm.
Comixology is, they finally got, well, they got Image now, which is not.
And they got Marvel, and they got Xenoscope. Hell, they even have Disney. They have DC. Um, they have IDW. They have Boom. They have Top Shelf. They have all the major. They have Valiant. They have all the major companies. And they have Devil's Due of all things. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure Devil's Due is great, but um, I mean, they have all of these. Not just the big, like, well, let's face it, DC and Marvel are the big two. IDW and Image Comics are like second to, or maybe even on the same level for some people as DC and Marvel. Like for me right now, IDW and Image Comics can do no wrong. Well, IDW and their Transformer stuff is a little questionable, but they have all of these other, like, not necessarily no name publishers, but they have a ton of publishers. They have almost every publisher I can think of, except for Dark Horse.
The only good thing from Dark Horse right now, besides the Star Wars, would be Hellboy. And
Uh,
even then, although I haven't read a Star Wars from Dark Horse in a while,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean,
And Star Wars and Dark Horse doesn't even have that anymore because Marvel took it back.
well, that's good.
So
But yeah, I mean,
I don't think I'll be reading a Dark Horse comic anytime soon.
no, I'm actually going to Image, and I have to say, besides Marvel and DC, yeah, it's IDW and Image for me.
Yep.
Yeah, but that would be pretty much.
There's only one other publisher right now that has something that I really really want that isn't one of those four, and that's a publisher called Xenoscope because they have a reimagined new versional take on Robin Hood, and it's Robyn Robin Hood. So very much looking forward to that. You can expect coverage for that here in the pull bag. I don't know exactly when. I don't have it pulled up right now, but I think coming up in January we're gonna do more Turtles coverage and other stuff with Joe Reed. So other than that, I'm not really sure. Where can the people find you online, sir?
Well, of course, partner with geekcastradio.com, and then, of course, on Facebook, Hunnick Outcasts, iTunes, Hunnick Outcast, and Twitter, Spreaker, all one word. You can find us on all social media, one word, Hunnick Outcast. And,
Awesome. Oh, that's what's coming up. Yeah. Masters of the Universe. Ada S. Barron and I are going to be doing issues 13 to 19 of the ongoing. And then we've got Joe Reed and I have TMNT issues 41 and 42, which are the first two issues of Attack on Technodrome from IDW. Um, and then in February, we've got episode 98, 99, and 100 for the pull bag. So that's going to be interesting. Uh, until then, folks, I'm sorry. People, please comment on this episode and let us know if we're wrong. Let us know if our opinions on the Dark Horse Tomb Raider Gail Simone written series are wrong, or if you disagree with us and tell us why you think it's good. Because I I'm walking away from this. I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole ever again.
I just deleted my Dark Horse app, so you know what, guys?
Oh wow.
I don't want to turn him into my alter ego, Jeremy Wine. But in this case, this is the only time you're probably going to hear me as that alter ego when no effort is really put in. But yeah, I've deleted right now as we spoke said app. But trust us, what was it? Yeah, until next week, courage. Yeah,
Yeah.
better
Yeah.
episode. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God, now I need to find that clip. All right, so that's gonna do it for us. Make your great escape to comics. We will catch you next week when we travel back to Eternia with Masters of the Universe 2013 ongoing. We're gonna wrap it up with the Blood of Grayskull storyline, and then we go a flashback with issue 19 of that series, where it's basically What if the Masters of the Universe and the Lion King collided? Because that's all issue 19 is a Lion King story with Masters of the Universe characters. So, like I said, make your great escape into comics. We will catch you next time. Happy New Year, everybody. We've got great things coming up this year in the pull bag, and we will catch you later.
Hakuna
A
Matata!
famous explorer once said that the extraordinary is in what we do, not who we are. I'd finally set out to make my mark. To find adventure. But instead, adventure found me. In our darkest moments, when life flashes before us, we find something. Something that keeps us going. Something that pushes us.
You've just heard the latest episode of The Pull Bag, the GCRN's comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate our show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you are leaving the message for, and your name. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. Send us an email feedback at geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at geekcastradio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.